The energy coming through is that you have reached a very profound level of allowing. You have done a very beautiful job of diligently facing your own shadow, fighting those battles inside of yourself to break certain karmic habits, loops, and patterns, to let go of the things that were not serving you, were dragging you down, were holding you back, urges to shrink yourself down or to hide away from being seen as you are in the light of day, that you have now counteracted. You're taking steps in the opposite direction, putting yourself out there or remaining very still and allowing others to view and witness you when the inclination in the past might have been to mask or to run, has done a very excellent job of clearing out space inside of you, inside of your actual life, inside of your emotional world, and inside of your energetic field and frequency, where you at this point in time are absorbing a lot of high vibrational energy. This can be the attention of high vibrational people or people that align with like a higher timeline that you are living in right now, that is becoming more and more of like a grounded part of your reality every day. And that idea of like energy flows where attention goes. So you are picking all of that up. You are sponging all of that in. This energy of kind of like curiosity or even admiration. A desire to kind of approach and to mingle, to speak, to be inclusive, to be curious, to engage in conversation. All of that is something which it feels like is filling certain aspects of your cup that you have not been able to do for yourself up to this point in time. This is also the energy of tapping into the higher frequencies of the environment around you. So maybe you've set up some very healthy boundaries with like people in your circumstances that are not aligned with that higher timeline. You've kind of changed the company that you keep, the habits that you have, the things that you're participating in. You've created consciously a level of stillness and peace for yourself. You've prioritized that. Almost the ritual of creating sanctuary for yourself at the beginning of the day, throughout the day, at the end of the day, whatever that looks like, in conjunction with a season of healing, shadow work, and an ascension path that you have been on, that is now allowing you to kind of pick up these frequencies that it feels like were vibrating at an octave that was higher than you were able to kind of perceive, or that your energy was able to link up with and to reciprocate with, because there was so much that was like dragging you down. There was so much that was distracting you in the past. There was so much that was kind of bottled up inside of you that needed that catharsis. It needed to be released. You needed to feel those feelings in order for them to no longer have that same kind of like subconscious hold and control over you as they did when you feared and avoided them. This is the energy of, new experiences, new situations you're going to align with, new places that you will find yourself in, and for a change being fed into as opposed to being fed upon. If you were dealing with a lot of low vibrational people, or even things which, presented certain tests and challenges, lessons that you needed to learn, karmic cycles that you needed to like identify to be able to break through. And the only way to do that was with a very fine-toothed comb, with your intuition, and maybe through kind of learning the same thing over and over again, and just like repeating the same patterns, repeating the same behaviors, getting the same results until you said enough is enough and you switched and moved in a different direction. Only then could you really truly understand how much of your energy was being sapped away, how much of you was being kind of diminished in the interest of others being lifted up. How much of you was being kind of like kept away from the world, or from a place where you could access it and sort of feed that into the nature of like the life that you're trying to create, a life you don't need a vacation from, a life you are excited to live, a life others are proud that you are living, that you've kind of like reclaimed that power from the ways in which it was parted out in a myriad of ways. Predominantly, it feels like just in terms of like what and who you were letting in very close comes to you, letting occupy space in your mind or even like conscious contact within the material world. Like you've cleared a lot of that clutter away. You've set those healthy boundaries and it has repelled takers from your life. And so this has now created kind of this vacuum within your energetic field where you are now in this place of, at a very rapid rate, receiving all of these kind of like supercharged energies that it feels like are really going to help to sort of heal holes that may exist in your aura, either that had been there the whole time or maybe were the process of things that you had to kind of like shed as far as attachments to people that were just kind of sucking the life out of you, attachments even to kind of threads of memory from the past that had kept you engaged in an ongoing battle, like reliving flashbacks, reliving the same experiences, ruminating day after day, not being able to kind of escape that haunted experience. And something that you've done or something that you are in the midst of doing at this particular point in time is dislodging those things from having such a hold upon you, such a profound effect upon you, but it's almost like they're needing to be sort of ripped away in order for these kind of like higher frequencies of a better life and a better timeline and better circumstances and people to feed something that is like a form of almost healing energy in. Like you're stepping into better days for yourself, as much as that may not seem to be the case currently, especially if you've just gone through like some spiritual battle, some spiritual warfare, and you're like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted. That was draining. It was something where, it took a lot out of me to kind of like look through all the illusions, see the truth, and hold that in a very conscious and present place inside of myself so I could be very conscientiously choosing to move in a different direction, honoring that place where you feel that kind of like perhaps the stillness is all that there is, that peace is like kind of all you've wanted, that little corner of peace inside of yourself. But this is the essence of like there's a space within you that is kind of like waiting to be filled by something that is better, something that will kind of add to the measure of like your energetic value, or in some sort of way reminds you of that currency you hold inside of yourself that now has the free space in order to come out of hiding on its own. Some of you may have actually been kind of based on the circumstances you were in, or like karmic patterns and shadow work that needed to be done. There could have been aspects of your light that you had kept hidden very deeply inside of yourself, like for safekeeping, almost like the world can take so much from me, but it's not going to take this. And through this process of whatever battles you have come from, whatever shadow work you have just done, whatever process of, like acceptance and release and a conscientious decision to make better choices, and then enacting that every day, step by step, bit by bit, until you are now where you are, which is different from where you were. Now it's this kind of tone that has been set inside of yourself that is kind of coaxing those aspects of you, those beautiful parts of you that have been hidden away for safekeeping, up into the light. Those things in and of themselves will fill these holes in your aura. So you're going to be shining brighter. You're going to be far more radiant than you have been in the past. And with this energy of transforming empathic absorptions, this is that work of personal alchemy. This is that, active participation in kind of doing that heavy lifting, doing that emotional labor, making those hard choices to, disconnect and distance yourself from things that you just know are not good for you. And then there's like a corresponding response through your energy inside of yourself, through the signal that you are sending out to the world around you, through what is received and perceived as like an enticement, something that is, drawing in things that are of a higher caliber and quality, because you have chosen that, you have demanded that, you have manufactured that inside of yourself out of the experiences that in the past had you playing small with your life, tolerating nonsense, or, keeping yourself wide open to participation with people, places, and things that you knew were only bringing out the worst in you, or were keeping you at a distance, keeping you kind of locked away from the fulfillment of your dreams and kind of the embodiment of your highest self. Yeah, we have seeking healing water. So it feels like if you've been going through some heavy things emotionally, you've had a lot of ups and downs, you are nearing the end of that. You are reaching kind of a point where those storms will pass and it will become a lot more tranquil. This will be an experience of you're able to kind of just float for a minute. You're able to kind of just sit within the landscape that you have mapped out within yourself. You have identified kind of these triggers that might have gone unnoticed under the surface before. You have exercised strength in sort of swimming against the current when you knew that there were things that just were not healthy for you, that you were participating with in the outside world that were creating certain storms, contributing to that chaos, or tossing you around within rough waters that at a certain point in time you loved yourself enough to say, I deserve better than this. This is unnecessary. This isn't good for me. This is like self-hating behavior to just continue to accept this and to continue to dwell within this state of unclaimed aspects within yourself, parts of yourself that you have been fighting, or people, places, and things that you were actively participating with that just serve to exacerbate those wounds inside of you. This is a time for you to be very gentle with yourself, to be very compassionate with yourself, to give yourself permission to, feel those emotions. For some of you, like crying is going to be very important at this particular point in time. That like physical act of release of everything that you have kind of dislodged inside of yourself emotionally, kind of like that final push of grief that allows you to just sort of let go and release of the things that no longer serve, the energetic memories, the heaviness of that you've held within, or a certain range that you had in terms of your emotional ups and downs. It's like you're expanding beyond that territory. You're reaching new ends of like a better spectrum for yourself. On the other side of maybe some experiences of just ugly crying, or, sitting within that kind of frustration, that hurt, that woundedness. This is a sense of when you come up beyond that, when you are able to kind of push all of that, stuck energy out of yourself through those emotional acts of release. This is something that you're not only going to feel kind of lighter and freer, but again, it clarifies your energy in a way. It cleanses it, it purifies it, it purges out sort of like the embedded kind of toxic energetic residue of things that you had experienced in the past, ways in which you had acted in a non-self-loving fashion, or times where there were things that happened to you and hurts just continued to dwell within. You're needing to continue to kind of allow that to be sort of churned up. Feel it in the most raw sense that you can. Don't turn away. Don't numb out from that. And trust that for every time you're kind of drawn to this place of having to purge these things outside of yourself, to get rid of them, to feel a way beyond that, that it is something that you will find a gentler experience waiting for you on the other side of that. As much as it may seem that you are simply being tossed around within this same kind of frantic energy, a desire for a different kind of emotional climate or different experiences in your material world that generates something else inside of you other than what has been predictable. There's a sense that you have actually covered a large amount of ground or territory. You have created movement for yourself in your efforts so far to sit with yourself in even the most uncomfortable of feelings and experiences. You are reaching a point right now where there will be dry land. There will be an experience, maybe even a helping hand that hoists you up out of the nature of kind of like a choice that you have made to confront certain things inside of yourself, to work on certain things, versus kind of the sense of overwhelm at the magnitude or the reality of the emotional toll that still exists within, the residue of experiences from the past, or the things that you have had in your life that you've needed to cut out, that just kept you operating in that same frequency, kept you tossed around in that same sea. You are now at this place of being able to kind of step beyond that, to look back on that chapter of your experience and not just see it as kind of like that was work that was done, but that is something that I survived. It is that energy of survival that it feels like becomes a tool inside of yourself that will allow you to very consciously dive in deep to emotional waters, to not reflect reflexively recoil from these things or seek scenic routes in the interest of not doing kind of like these necessary periods of having to, sort of confront things emotionally, like an emotional maintenance. There's an aspect inside of yourself now that has the ability, or it's being generated currently, to purify some of that toxicity that has been held within your emotional body, and the sense of like taking the time to do that in a logical manner, but then also something that has to be kind of like a physical response to it as well. Something where you're purging those emotions out in a healthy and controlled manner, so that they no longer have their claws in you. They no longer have this control over you. They no longer sit there kind of dwelling within the shadow, reminding you of kind of, things that are unchangeable, or things that are not in alignment with a better version of you, or a better kind of life or disposition that you have been reaching for, that has been unreachable up to this point in time. You're learning to kind of come up with all sorts of different ways, it feels like, to move in and out of these periods of time where, you're needing to kind of confront that, needing to confront what is buried, needing to confront, kind of the fact that it is not always an easy ride forward within life. There are things which occur, which create woundedness, and we often have to revisit that woundedness time and time again with these different perspectives, different versions of ourselves, different strengths, different lenses, a different level of fortitude to be able to really get in there, sit in the midst of that, and come to understand what it is for us, and what we will not allow it to be for us moving forward in the future. And so you have reached this point of almost like a rite of passage. You have survived this storm. You have not avoided it. And this is something that has almost kind of given you your sea legs, to where when you move beyond this chapter, this current time where you are very exhausted, where you are very much feeling raw because you have felt everything. There's nothing left to feel, or it's kind of like, okay, I've cleared all that away. When do the good things start? When do the good days come? This is a sense of stepping out of that experience of being within those cleansing waters inside of yourself, and taking away that sense of like, I did that, I triumphed over that, I survived through that experience. Something that for a lot of people might have even been built up into something that was more difficult or more frightening than it needed to be, or that it actually was, that could have led to different kind of experiences of numbing out, running from that pain, or even kind of entertaining connections, people, circumstances, things that were only serving to kind of cause those wounds to remain very open, and very intrusive, intruding upon the level of joy you were able to create for yourself in your life. And so this is a period of time where you need to celebrate your progress and your process, or as organic as that has been for you, and trust that for all of this energy that has been cleared out, all of these wounds that you have faced, as open as they are, that you had to reopen for yourself in order to purge certain things out, that this is something that will be filled with the opposite experience. If you have just come through kind of the catharsis of pain, you are now in alignment for the reception of something positive that fills that up. You have made that proclamation. I will not tolerate kind of the indwelling of that pain alongside me. I will not allow that to intrude on my joy anymore. You have moved that outside of yourself in a variety of ways, or you're doing that very currently. And so those spaces within, it feels like, are going to be filled with the opportunity to take that wisdom that you have alchemized, that you've crystallized from past experiences, and to, choose better, to know better, to do better, to insist on better than you have had up to this point in time, which is, a step in the direction of moving towards emotional experiences that fulfill you, that leave you with a sense of being uplifted rather than weighed down, that kind of add to that energy of sustenance when you do need to go back in and sort of do more of that emotional maintenance inside of yourself, when you need to cleanse certain things, face certain things, feel certain things in order to heal them on a certain level. This is a period of time right now where you are gathering that strength, you're gathering those resources inside of you, and it feels like it's something that doesn't involve like an active search. It is this stillness within this moment, in the here and now, and it's like energies around you, forces around you, are already kind of like directed towards you, and all it is just a matter of kind of allowing yourself to be poured into, perhaps for the first time in a long time. So the challenge at this point may even just be sitting still enough in order to receive without trying to kind of figure out what it is, where it's coming from, what it means, what to do with it, but just allow yourself to be filled to the brim until you are spilling over with abundance of energy, raw energy and power that you then have the ability to repurpose into things of your choosing moving forward. We also have accepting the past. Yeah, so you are closing out of a chapter of very deep shadow work. Experiences where it feels like certain things, people, places, and things that you've released. This is the last time you're having to hear from these things. This is the last time you're needing to be, kind of haunted by these memories. Perhaps even just because like a different version of you has surfaced through this process. So when those triggers come up, when you are confronted with those reminders, it's not going to be the old version of you that took a particular stance. It's like you've gone to battle against these things. You've chosen yourself. You fought your way through to a different sort of experience. And so now you are armed with this ability to not kind of fall into that loop or pattern that had caused like a particular emotional dance between you and certain things that were unchangeable, certain people that just are the way that they are, certain experiences of the past that are over and done with, and so there's nothing that you can do to kind of turn back those hands of time. Certain relationships that you've had even with yourself that may have been the residue of a lot of frustration over not making better choices back then. Like if I knew then what I knew now, I would have done something different. That kind of experience that it feels like you had fed life into for quite some time. You'd kept those aspects of you as little inner critics in the front row, of your subconscious, of the back of your mind, kind of undermining your efforts to move forward, undermining your ability to allow good things to come to you, undermining your ability to, take the day at face value and truly expect that good things will come, and then to rush towards that when they present themselves rather than standing back, over scrutinizing and missing certain opportunities. Like you've evolved beyond that. You've cleared the board, you've cleared the room inside of yourself. And so it feels like this is something that, again, there may be like a final kind of period of grieving, like a purge that needs to kind of happen. Not because it's like, okay, there's still so much of this energy stuck inside of you, but it's like you're wishing bon voyage to that version of you that has done this very beautiful job of, rising to the occasion, answering the call, and completing the task of you saving you from yourself, you saving you from an aspect within that had just sort of held on to all of that stuck energy, those hurt feelings, those like bad relationships, those negative experiences, those, circumstances in your life that were only aligning with a version of you that you didn't want to be, or that wasn't bringing forth the best, that wasn't something that you were proud of, or wasn't something that, was like opening doors of opportunity for you, but instead was blocking doors of opportunity. Like you have stepped beyond that version of you. And so in order to, fully kind of release that warrior mode and step into this place where you are allowing kind of softer experiences to come towards you, you are welcoming gentleness, you are insisting on empowered experiences, and to become that living embodiment of that, it is the shedding of this skin. It's putting that armor aside for the moment, knowing it is always there should you need it again. And when the occasion, arises in the future, where you will have to go in, and really kind of confront certain things in order to close doors that are taking up kind of too much space, allowing too many things to sort of come and go from your reality, or, even as an undercurrent in your internal world, so that you can put your full focus, you can put your full self into this experience of being very present in the here and now, with the expectation that you have put in the work to create better days, and so better days are inevitably ahead of you. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. Like or comment to claim these energies. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content that I put out here. Don't forget to hit the bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. And if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link for that below. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.